Duck, the Great Western engine, had settled in nicely as the new station pilot after Percy had been sent to build the new harbour. He kept the trucks in line, and all the coaches thought of him as a gentleman. The other engines appreciated his work and enjoyed his company, although they were tired of hearing all about the Great Western Way all the time. The weather recently on the island had been wet and miserable. Not to mention a thick fog had rolled in from the sea, making operations on the railway very difficult. Trains had been ordered to run at slow speeds, and headlamps had to be visible at all times. One misty, murky afternoon, Duck was slowly moving about the yard. He was carefully arranging some coaches for Henry's passenger train. As he pushed the coaches through the fog to the platform, he heard a whistle blare out through the station. This took Duck by surprise. "Careful back there, Duck!" barked Henry.
"I say,"
squealed one of the coaches.
"I thought you were gentle and kind."
Beg pardon, Henry, ladies. "I was just startled by your whistling, Henry," said Duck as he ran around beside Henry. "My whistling?" asked Henry. "I thought that was you." "Not me, no. I was busy trying to concentrate on seeing through the fog," answered the Great Westerner, very confused. "Well, it certainly wasn't me. I never whistle at stations. Gordon wouldn't let me forget it. It is a drawn, but we just don't do it." Duck, however, was still puzzled. He had never heard of a whistle like that before, and he couldn't see any other engine through the fog. He decided to keep an eye out for this elusive loco as he continued his work. Duck worked hard all day. He moved carefully through the yards and kept a close eye out for anything in the fog. He'd worked late into the evening tidying the yard. Darkness had fallen over the island, making it even harder to see. He was just shunting some trucks into a siding when he spotted a red engine waiting with a goods train beside him. "Good evening, James. What are you doing here?" inquired Duck. "Signalman's received news of an engine gallivanting down the line without permission. I've been ordered to stay here until they find it." "Good gracious, please don't tell me it was Gordon!" No, he's back at the sheds now, you half-wit. His last train was hours ago." "I can't understand how any driver or engine would think it's a good idea to go racing around in fog like this." At last, the signalman approached James's cab. "I've rang every box and station down the main line, but none of them have seen this missing train since, although they all claim to have heard it." "Blimey, you don't think they've crashed, do you?" asked James's fireman. "Well, that's it. There's been no reports of a crash anywhere down the line. We would have definitely heard about one by now," explained the signalman. "Should I get the breakdown train ready just in case, sir?" asked Duck. "I don't think that'll be necessary, Duck," answered the signalman. "I'm giving you permission to take your train down the line now, James, but please be careful. Keep an eye out for anything." "Yes, sir," answered James, as the signalman returned to his box. "Take care," said Duck. "Don't make the same mistake as this engine. Trust me, Duck, I'm not that stupid." And James set off into the fog. Duck sighed and slowly made his way to the sheds. Duck woke next morning as the firelighter was steaming him up. He peered over to the berth next to him. James was already awake and staring at his buffers. "How did your run go last night?" asked Duck sleepily. "Fine," said James bluntly. "No sign of any train or crash. They fuss over nothing." "How strange," commented Duck. "Perhaps there was some kind of miscommunication." "Well, that miscommunication resulted in my train being very late," snapped James. Duck could see James was in no mood to chat, so when his crew arrived for work, he puffed out of the sheds into the foggy yards. To make matters worse, a harsh, stinging rain had begun to fall that morning. Duck had his eyes clenched shut as he pushed Gordon's express coaches to the platform. He sighed with relief as he sat under the canopy. Suddenly, "I appreciate you being here 10 minutes early, Gordon, but you could at least warn me when you were going to couple up." There was no answer. "Oi, Gordon!" Still no answer. Duck let off steam crossly as he reversed over the points to the opposite platform. First he bumps me, now he doesn't have the decency to apologize. Just then, the guard ran up to Duck's cab. "The passengers want to board the train immediately. They don't want to stay out in the cold anymore. I heard Duck say Gordon was already here. I can't see anything through this fog." "Indeed, though he's being rather quiet," answered Duck's driver. "Very well," sighed the guard. "We'll get this train moving early. I'll tell the station master to alert the signalman about the early start." "What on earth is happening here?" called a voice. Duck was horrified as Gordon pulled up next to him. "What the... Gordon? But if you're here, who's pulling the train?" The Fat Controller barged out of his office and saw the express leaving without Gordon. "Sir, the express has been stolen!" The Fat Controller fixed its hat and climbed into Duck's cab. "Follow that thief!" he called. Duck quickly caught up to the train. He was shocked as to what he saw. The coaches were slowly moving forward, and the sound of hissing and clanking could be heard. But there was no engine to be seen. Then, with a strong gust of wind, the sound of the engine ceased, and the coaches stopped. The passengers were very confused. Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that there's been a fault in the coach's brake lines that we must inspect immediately. Duck will bring your train back to the station, and you are more than welcome to wait in the station cafe, or we can arrange a bus service if you need, said the Fat Controller. He tipped his hat and returned back to the pannier. Beg pardon, sir, but why did you explain to them what actually happened? Asked Duck quietly. Because, my dear Montague, I'm not frankly sure what happened, the Fat Controller said solemnly. Duck was at a loss for words as he pushed the coaches back to the platform. The coaches were inspected and given the all clear. Duck wasn't sure, but he reckoned the big blue engine wasn't telling him something. That evening, the sheds were as silent as they were full. All the engines glanced around at each other. They were all thinking the same thing. At last, Duck whispered to Gordon, "Do you know anything about the incident at the station?" There was silence. "Oh, yes," answered Gordon quietly. "I'm afraid I do." "It was her, wasn't it?" asked Edward in a concerned tone. "Unmistakably," said Gordon. "Who is she?" asked Duck. "Madeline," said Edward sternly. "She was an LNERP2 who came on trial from the mainland when Henry was shut up in the tunnel. She was given all his work, as the others and I had been struggling to pick up his slack. She was the last of her class to be built." "She was a kind engine, and showed a lot of promise. However, she sometimes let her immaturity get the better of her," Edward interjected. "She'd been designed to pull express trains, but had only been working with Henry's goods for the past few months. She wanted more than anything to live up to her potential and prove herself worthy of pulling the express. After begging and pleading with the Fat Director to pull the express, and constantly being declined the opportunity, Madeline took matters into her own buffers," said Gordon darkly. "She lied to her crew one foggy when wet morning, telling them they'd been rusted to pull the express, as Gordon had been taken ill. Her crew suspected nothing, and collected the coaches for the express. I was begrudgingly pulling a goods train at the time when she passed me at a signal." "She never looked happier," said Gordon, peering down at his buffers. "And then what?" asked Duck quietly. Gordon and Edward looked at one another. "Her coaches
were found stranded on the main line. Madeline was lost to the fog and time, finished Edward.
Doc didn't know what to say. How come we haven't heard of her story before? Asked Henry. The fat director made us take an oath never to speak of her again. He didn't want to cause a panic and have people believe the railway was haunted. The Northwestern hadn't the greatest reputation at the time, as you know, answered Gordon. Does our fat controller know about her? Asked James shakily.
He doesn't, but I'll be sure to inform him. He, of all people, deserves to know the truth.
And so, Edward explained the story of Madeline to the Fat Controller the next day. So Topham decided to cancel all express services for a week, informing the passengers that all the coaches needed an overhaul. Bertie the bus had never been busier carrying people for that week. The engines carried on with their goods at local passenger trains, all remaining watchful as they puffed along the main line. Not just because of the fog, but for Madeline. Thankfully, the fog lifted after a while and the weather improved immensely. The express then returned after its hiatus, and Gordon was glad to have his train back. While the others suppressed the thoughts of Madeline deep into their smoke boxes, Doc always keeps an eye out for her while shunting, hoping that someday she'd find her way home. But I don't think that's very likely. Do you?